today's lecture will be different from the last one, first of all, because I can interact with you. And that is a very important stuff. I would say a fundamental step, because I like to talk with my students. And so you are invited to ask questions directly, because I'm not able to look at the chat. I would like as well, but I mean, I know that some people are good enough to look at the chat and talk and do many other things, like Napoleon, who was able to do 7 things at one time. Unfortunately, I hardly can speak, and that is enough. So in any case, I really like to interact with you, and the lecture that I have prepared wants to be particularly, I mean, I have at the very end provided to a discussion. I have a case to present and to be discussed. If I try now a quarter of an hour to make a summary of what I tried to say yesterday. So first of all, I forgot to tell that ethics and morals I don't think, do we have a recording, Guido? Guido?
Yes, you can proceed.
Okay, because I didn't see that it is already recorded, but in any case, okay. So the point is that ethics and morals, or morality, in my terminology, they are equal, synonymous. And of course, ethics is a social institution devoted to provide values and norms which are attended and followed spontaneously, and because they are reckoned to be just. So people doesn't need any incentives to behave morally, but they are happy to do it, and they think it is good to do it, and they are ready to sacrifice what is most precious, and sometimes even their own life. In this sense, ethics has been for long connected with metaphysics and with the idea of a post-mortem life. And so now we are in a secularized society, and I use secularization as disenchantment of the world. In the past century, the world was more or less magic, had something extraordinary in itself, and we didn't know how the world was working, and this was creating a fascinating and special atmosphere which overcome the rational analysis. Now secularization broke up with this magical environment, and we have now a disenchanted world. We know how the world works, and this gives us a new attitude to reality. Now, this attitude involves also ethics. Ethics must be rational, and in order to obey to some rule or some norm, we have to see whether it is justified or not, and justification means to be rationally justification. And this means having true facts and good values and good principles, like the principle avoid pain and increase happiness in the world. Now, the second point that I try to convey is that ethics used to be connected with religion and used to be the reign of the absolutes. Now, we have realized in the last decades that all ethical principles are prima facie, which means that we have no fixed hierarchy of values, and we can balance the different values we have to consider. When bioethics, which is the field I'm more acquainted with, when bioethics started about 5 decades ago or so, bioethics broken up with the tradition. In thinking for this lecture, I realized that the Supreme Court, American Supreme Court decision on Roe versus Wade of 1973, which liberalized abortion in the United States, was a kind of break with Hippocrates' oath. So it means that for 2,500 years, there was a continuous prohibition of abortion. And that decision, that sentence, broke up with a tradition which was continuous since the beginning of our civilization. I mean, that is what happened in bioethics. I mean, bioethics was a phenomenon so sudden, so rapid, that changed something which was ingrained in our own humanity. Think, for instance, of what it means assisted reproduction, or think of what it means, the gender issues. Now that you have paritarian, equalitarian marriage, that people can marry even a different gender orientation. Think that in the Italian law, it is not written that it is not written, as a matter of fact, that marriage was between male and female. That's only in the church law, ecclesiastic law, canonic law, but not in the Italian law. But certainly when in the last century, the lawyers in the parliament and the king released such a law, certainly they didn't write it because it was natural. It was normal. Now it's a big change. I don't say, I fully agree that we gained inequality, and that is good, what is the change we have. But I still acknowledge that is a big change, is a big transformation. Anyway, this is that the idea that we have a new ethics for without absolutes is a major idea that I try to convey. Now, in bioethics, this was a sort of trauma, because it was a break with a tradition. In the case of artificial intelligence, or in the case of mechanics, of the industrial revolution, I mean of what pertains the inorganic world, the impact appears to be not so, the impact it doesn't appear to be tremendous, because I think we are adjusted to many modifications. I mean, of course, when the Industrial Revolution came out, appeared, it was a real break. It is interesting that Laddism, John Ladd was a sort of medical commander who tried to destroy machines at the times. And Laddism is an important cultural and political movement, but is not studied at all. It's a sort of hole, a black hole in history, and it is not studied carefully. In any case, Laddism was a reaction to the Industrial Revolution, but after Laddism, we are acquainted with new instruments. And so we don't think that the Industrial Revolution was a big change. Now, my thesis is that the Industrial Revolution not only, as Eric Hobsbawm said, is the most fundamental transformation of humanity of which we have written documents. Not only that, but now the synergy between Industrial Revolution, biomedical revolution, artificial intelligence, we have a mix which puts us in a new dimension. That is my idea. We are getting into a new era which is much more than the passage, for instance, between medieval time and Renaissance, or between Renaissance and our age. You are at the beginning, we are at the beginning of something completely new. And we do not realize that. But I think it is something so. This morning I tried to formulate a neologism. So for the first time, I try to pronounce it in honor of this lecture. As there is bioethics, I would call it the RE ethics, artificial intelligence ethics, bioethics. So for analogy, I don't know, maybe someone else has already coined the neologism. In any case, I try to tell it for the first time myself in this lecture. So, and then I think I will write the paper I already settled for this presentation. And so I call it IE ethics as a necessary something for the new society. In any case, IE ethics appears to be the continuation of traditional ethics. And as far as I studied the GDPR of the European Union, this important law assumes that that i.e. ethics is in line with the traditional ethics. I don't think it is so. And the trick, so I leave you some question later for my colleague Giovanni Sartor, who will have the task to present you, the legal regulation concerning artificial intelligence, and I'm sure he will present or say something about the GDPR legislation. They say that it is enough to have principles of transparency and, inverted commas, quotation, correct information about our data to solve all the problems of artificial intelligence. I think this is not enough at all, because what is correct information is something completely different in a world before artificial intelligence and in a world after artificial intelligence. So, and what was thinkable before artificial intelligence becomes unthinkable in a later stage. Now, why industrial revolution was and is the greatest transformation of humankind? I think that the reasons are two. There are two reasons for that. First of all, science has been applied, and science is the greatest instrument of knowledge. So for the first time, the Industrial Revolution applied science to make something. And secondly, and this is the second point, the Industrial Revolutions introduced artificial energy. Before we had that energy was provided by human working, animal working, wind, or the falling of water. Then cool, after that, oil, petrol, and nuclear energy. Now we have different energy. And the industrial energy gives stability to any production. Now, these two facts, science and energy, change completely the conditions of our life. And this new opportunities provided by the Industrial Revolution allowed a reorganization of social life. And this is the most important stuff. Now the question is, artificial intelligence is something analogous to electric light, or is something more important? Now, one of the important consequences of the Industrial Revolution is, for instance, that in the year 1900s, the beginning of 2 centuries ago, Paris was called the city of light because a lot of electric light enlightened Paris. That was a great progress at the time. Now, of course, electricity, it was an important step. It enlarged the opportunity of our life, because at the sunset, we still continue to socialize, to study, to work, to fool around, to go to cafeterias, restaurants, bars, and so forth. And we don't have any longer difference between the daylight and night. So, of course, electric light enlarge our opportunities. But this is the question, and then I come to pose a question to you. Is that equivalent to artificial intelligence, or there is something more in artificial intelligence? That is the first question. My answer, I tell you, is that artificial intelligence is a leap. Is a leap of level, and is something much more important than the gain of electric light. So we should abandon the idea that artificial intelligence is simply another new piece of technology, like the wheel or like many others, which is an instrument like others, which enlarge our opportunities. Why? Artificial intelligence, it is much more. My answer is this, so far as I understand artificial intelligence. The electric light enlarged the opportunity of social life, has extended the light of the sun, and these extensions allowed human beings, the person, to organize social life in a different way. And that was quite important. But artificial intelligence is itself organizing our life. And that is a new step. That is something completely new, completely different. And this is the point, because artificial intelligence mixed up and joined with the advances of biological revolutions or nanotechnologies or communication or other stuff, all the mix up of these interactions will recreate a world. It's a kind of a new creation. Now, just to see it, I want to call your attention on a recent document which will become or is already launched and will become popular at the end of this month. I'm speaking of a green pass. You know what it is, a green pass. The European Union, and in Italy it's already valid. There is this green pass. If you want to travel, you must have on your iPhone or your telephone, whichever it is, you must have the green pass. I don't have it yet because I haven't gotten the second shot of vaccine. But after the second shot, the European Union is preparing a card called the Green Pass, in which you are, it is written that you have been vaccinated when you have been vaccinated and all your documents. And if you want to travel before getting a ticket of a train, you must show the Green Pass. And before entering a restaurant, you must show a green pass. Now, I'm in favor of a green pass. I can tell you I'm a member of the National Committee of Bioethics, which is from the government, and we had a document, a report on the green pass, and I approved what we elaborated, even if I wrote a sort of minority document in order to emphasize that the green pass is the beginning, is a novelty, the radical novelty of the green pass. It's something new, and that's it. I want to discuss with you about the green pass as a model of what artificial intelligence will become and how it will transform our world. Now, it is the first time that in order to get to the restaurant, you have to show that you are healthy. I mean, this is something new. Of course, it was true in the very long past that the people with plague, they had bells in order that people could immediately recognize that someone, a plagued man or a plagued woman, was coming and to keep far away and all this stuff. But that was something going back 3 centuries ago. In the last couple of centuries, natural health was a given. Now, before you enter a restaurant, you have to show that you are healthy. I think this is a great step because on your computer, on your telephone, and this is an effect of what artificial intelligence will create. Now they limit the information to vaccination against COVID-19. But I'm sure that very soon the idea of extending the information to other issues will become the rule, will become normal. When you go into, they have a psychological profile, and when you enter in a restaurant, they want to say if you are someone who is very easy in paying, in getting along with waiters or whatever. Also, think about the future. Right now, the World WHO prescribe us, recommends, advise us to have at least 300 minutes of physical exercise every week, 6 hours a week of jogging or doing physical exercise, because that would increase the cardiovascular stuff. Of course, I see my sons, the friends of my in the family, the younger people, you have the watch which gives you in regular time pressures, the beat, how many steps you do every day, and all this material. Now, I know that there are some little robots to be set into the vein and they can look around in the body and transmit information. The issue is, certainly in the future, this kind of opportunity will become regular. What about someone who wants to remain natural? I mean, what I want to say is, right now, if you smoke, of course, in a sense, you become a dangerous person because smoking is putting in danger your own health. And then you need to be cured. But the same thing is that if you don't follow the correct lifestyle connected with walking and physical exercise, if you have an improper diet, if you drink some wine, for instance, are you responsible that then you ruins your health? And what will be the consequences of all of that? Now we think we protect from the danger of spreading the COVID. But in future, it might be that the way of becoming dangerous to others will increase enormously with the enormous capacity of detecting our own health. That is the issue that I want to raise with you. I think that the Green Pass I wrote in my minority report of national, it is not yet translated into English, but it will be done in any case. It is on you go into, maybe I send it to you. It is in the report of the government, National Committee for Bioethics, and then there is a report on COVID and the Green Pass. And so it is not in English yet translated, but it is in Italian. And I try to say, no, look, this is the beginning not of what is called the medical dictatorship. No, I don't think it is not a dictatorship. I think it could be good and it could increase our freedom, but it is a different step of freedom. That is my general idea. And for this, I think that we need a new EI ethics. And I think that we should reframe our values and possibly our main concepts that are at the ground of ethics nowadays. That's it. I opened the discussion. I hope now I spoke half an hour to make a resume of what I said. I have a case to present you, and I'm ready to discuss with you. So I think you are young scholars, and you need to. If Guido wants to say something, I'm ready to hear from himself too. Okay.
Please go ahead.
Well, the only one I can see is Pietro. So I asked Pietro, if someone else wants to say, did you know what is the Green Pass? And my idea is the Green Pass is the beginning of a new attitude that artificial intelligence will control and will organize, let's say, our life. That is the idea. And it's not a simple extension of what we already have. That is a difference between myself and my colleagues at of an Italian National Committee for Bioethics.
Yes, I think that this interpretation is quite correct. I believe that we will have to be very to take precaution not to be overwhelmed by these new technologies, by artificial intelligence. Although I must say that I do think that AI ethics is necessary, and also from a legal perspective, we do need some improvements, a change of paradigm. I think that at least at the EU level, they are still very far from it, but they are beginning to try. There's been an AI regulation proposal in April, which is still not enough, but I do hope that the direction will be that of fostering the new possibilities given by AI, but at the same time protecting also people's freedom, because that is something which is still very important and which must be protected and guaranteed.
Pietro, are you a lawyer?
Yeah, I did. Oh, I'm now a PhD student in Bologna, Law Science and Technology. I'm doing my PhD there at CFSID.
No, that's fine. What I mean, I'm just going to study the European Union regulation. What I think is limited about this, but in general, this at least is my idea. And we hope that in our society, at least with very freedom, but to develop, at least explore this idea. What I think it is limiting the European Union is that we have a choice to make, and this is a Green Pass example. The choice is, do we have a right to remain natural, or we do need to be empowered, enhanced by the new technologies? Could I formulate the issue? I mean, artificial intelligence is such a powerful event which enhance ourselves, because I mean, I am 70, but of course the young people who from the beginning run every day, physical exercise, good diet, all the stuff, they could live 120 years, 150 years. Now, and being healthy and having good time, if they do practice the rules every day, and we have a control on it. I mean, this is a point. If you drink a couple of glasses of wine, then you have control, you have artificial intelligence who tells you, now it's enough, please stop. And if you don't stop, you are registered. Of course, European Union regulation says, well, this data could be controlled. No, it is not here the issue to control. The issue is another one. The issue is, do you have a right to be natural as our grandparents were? That you say, I like good life, I smoke a cigar, I drink a beer, I do all the style of life, which is unhealthy. But long ago, you had the right to be unhealthy. Your freedom could enlarge to different kind of behavior. Now that we know that there are good behavior, and this is a kind of Superman, you know, that is the idea. And the issue is, do we have a right to live according to the old standards, or do we have a duty to be in the new standard? This is the philosophy behind the Green Pass. I don't know whether I was clear enough, and I opened the discussion about this point.
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Arianna?
Yeah.
And then Maria Camila.
Yes, and yeah, just a comment. In fact, I am quite concerned about all this perspective and, you know, all these changes, the Green Pass, and yeah, and all the things we are discussing right now. And actually, it reminds me about the biopower, so the concept of Foucault. And actually, you know, he was a genius in this sense because, of course, he foreseen, yeah, this era, this epoch, I mean, and yeah, I am a psychologist, so I'm doing my PhD in psychology, and of course, the idea of having like a standard, which is always present in psychology. But I think I have the feeling that will be worse, even worse now. And so, of course, it's quite problematic, I think, this perspective and these changes. And so, yeah, my point of view, it's something we have to discuss about and yeah.
Okay.
Our point of view.
I understood. Now let's listen to some others, and then I'll try to give an answer. Please, Maria Camila, and then Andrea.
I completely agree that the Green Path is the beginning, in the sense that it's a herald of a different paradigm. And if we do embrace the new paradigm, we will embrace the Green Path. And if we do not embrace that paradigm, we will not embrace the Green Path. As for, do you have a right to be unhealthy? It escapes me what kind of freedom could the individual have if the choices that are available do not include being unhealthy, at least according to somebody else's definition, because I think this question in the end ends up wiping the right to self-determination. It ends up replacing a collective responsibility and individual conformity. It ends up replacing the individual responsibility. And we can understand that this could be easily abused, especially whenever this system ends up mandating conformity, because as we have heard yesterday, one of the important things that characterize morality and ethics is that they are recognized as good by the individual who practices it, not by a majority or by a society. And with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Okay. There was Andrea.
Yes. So I would like to take the discussion more in a broader sense, and I would like to also connect myself to something you said before, and it's the fact that basically you use the correct words, which were empowering, and we shouldn't allow artificial intelligence to substitute us in, let's say, our daily routines, as you were saying about the physical activities, etc. But we should use artificial intelligence to empower ourselves. And I would like to make an example. If we consider education nowadays, we have, for example, internet, and I would never imagine something in the future, so let's say a future in which we won't have to study just because we can ask an AI algorithm to collect the knowledge for us and basically answer all of our all of our exams and all of our questions by itself. It will basically become more human than us. Let's say that we will become the machine and the AI will become the human.
Andrea, I mean, you said we should not. The point is not what we should or we like to do. The point is what we do. As a matter of fact, Wikipedia has become the major source of information for all of us. Even if my colleagues at the Department of Philosophy and Educational Sciences are formally, they are all the time against Wikipedia, but when we need some information, we go and get Wikipedia. So that is the same mistake I find when I read most of European Union documents. They say we should not, we ought not to do it. But it's not what we ought not. It is what it is. It is that younger people, I don't have this watch, this clock sold by, I don't know, I've seen here in my family that for as a present, they received this special clock and they set it. And now at the end of the day, they say, well, today I did 9,000 and so steps, and automatically this is recorded. But I think that this is good. This is my difference with Arianna. No, Arianna said about biopower. I don't know exactly biopower. I think this is good that I don't do it because I am an older generation. It might be I will. I don't know. I'm confused myself, you know. But I think it is good. My idea is what a world will be when someone from the first day of a life has a control all over his body. I mean, this gives you a different idea of freedom or other things like this, completely different. That is, I'm not against. In a sense, I am enthusiast of a new technology. I realize that it is something different. That is what I say. It might be that this will increase our freedom, but it will be a different freedom from the freedom we knew. And my worry is that we continue to examine the new technology with the old dominant model. Yesterday, I introduced the concept of dominant model. Do you understand? My preoccupation is that I am in favor of a green pass. I do approve. I think it's good that people should have. My daughter is not so. I mean, my daughter lives in London, and she is not so well convinced about vaccinations and all this stuff. And I try to say, no, it's good to have a green pass. It saves lives. It gives you a new opportunity. It might be every year we should renew. And it might be that this is the beginning of a new kind of control on our own health. And to speak about Maria Camilla, do we have freedom to spoil our health? But not only that, tomorrow it will be, do we have a right not to use all our capacity to give our best also at school, in intellectual life? That is a problem. Of course, in the past, we could not control the processes, so we had to accept it. It might be that in the future, and this is artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence allows us to replicate, to make documents, as yesterday I tried to tell you, we are entering in post-history. That's the idea. I know that there are some people who have in their own home, all the cameras, and all the life, the family life, a normal family life is recorded. I don't know whether you know that for obituaries, there are survivals in which now it's already normal to build up. In the past, you collected some pictures, some photographs, and put all together in a book, like with the marriage book, when the people did the photos of that special day. Now, they, for instance, take my all the recording, all the lectures and all the stuff, and you make a profile of a dead. And in order to keep him or her alive in the future. And that is already a practice which is in the US, it's already sold normally together with the funeral. And how will be in the future when you have from birth to death a full registration of your own life? European Union says, well, we'll protect data if you are informed and you give consent or not consent and self-determination and so forth. But the point is that what is changing is self-determination itself. Is how are you responsible? What does it mean in this case? That is my question. Think, and this is my last suggestion, when you apply all these issues to reproduction in the future, but in a sense even now, if you decide to reproduce, we say in Italian, procreate. I don't use such a term because it's theological. Procreation is to do something in favor of creation which is given by God, but that is my own idiosyncrasy for terminology. But if you want to have a child, what is your responsibility for the child? And what will be in the future for the health of a child, of a good health and the happiness of a child? In the past, we didn't care about these things. Now that we have artificial intelligence and we can control all the details of ourselves as father and mothers and of a newborn, what is the responsibility? What does it mean, responsibility, in the new stage, in the new setting? Okay, this is my questions. I don't have exactly an answer, but I'm not satisfied. That is certainly, I don't have a positive answer, but I'm not happy with the answers that commonly are given to this point. Usually they say, oh, don't worry, because man is different. Man is human beings, he is always ruling and he will be. No, I'm not afraid. I'm not against at all, but I think that we have to be very careful in thinking, because we have to change ourselves. And that's artificial intelligence will change ourselves very deeply. This is the final idea.
I was wondering how much of your debate is mainly concerned about the privacy of the data, because the privacy of the data of our information, when it comes to the fact of the Green Pass, on the fact that basically they are trying to monitor our health and basically they collect data about our health. If I understood correctly, you say something like that, or if I'm not mistaken.
Listen, I'm not too much concerned with data and privacy, because I think that privacy is an old concept. Once you have the data, privacy is dead, because the problem is not if data are kept secret. The problem is what these data say. Do you understand what I mean? When I remember when I was a young kid, a man who lived up to 95, and all the day he smoked a cigar. At the time, before 1965, was there was the report, the first report in the world. It was not the Kinsey, it was the now I don't remember the name, but 1965, a report saying that smoke was dangerous for health. Before that time, people, the usual notion was that smoking was good for health. Could brighten up people, and that smoking was an healthy activity. Then in 1965, there was the first scientific report stating that smoking tobacco was dreadful. Okay? Now, before that time, people used to smoke quietly. And after that, they said it's normal. And it's not a problem of data. The problem is that you knew your lifestyle was chosen among a sort of what I call a natural society, a natural common sense idea. Now that you have the data, that if you do not exercise every week for 6 hours, you are failing something. The problem is, what is your responsibility against society? What does society require from you or can require from you? At the end, the issue is, if you don't exercise or if you drink more wine than allowed according to these standards and so forth, then when you need to be cured, they say, you pay extra. What about if you choose to have a child without prenatal diagnosis? Those are the issues. It's not the issue of keeping private data. The problem is the content of the data and the responsibility that people have once they have this new knowledge and this new capacity of controlling the world. That's it. But I see someone else, Arianna, maybe she wants to talk again. Please.
Yeah, because two things, if I have the time. One thing is just an add-on about what I said before, so about my concern, and retrieving the fact that there is a benchmark, I would say, a standard, a unique framework to describe what is health and what is.
Excuse me, Arianna. My problem is exactly which is the benchmark.
Yeah, that's.
No, I mean, we have. Yesterday, I told you that I am one exemplar of a dying species. I know. I was born, I told you, as people 3,000 ago were born. Now you are born in a different way. Because all of my students, I don't know about you, but all my students my daughter had ecographies. I didn't have ecographies. No, which is the benchmark of, let's say, humanity and responsibility in an age where artificial intelligence will change the organization of our life? This is a question, please.
But I don't know if I correctly understand your point, but the fact is that to make a practical example, as for self-tracking, I mean, so Fitbit and all these wearable, and of course you have the watch that says, okay, you have to do 10,000 steps today, and this is like a rule. This is and this rule is embedded in a framework, a theoretical framework where healthy is identified as, for example, doing 10,000 steps. And as for, physical health is quite, okay, the doctor says that I have to do this 10,000 steps, okay, I will do it. But it's more problematic as we address the psychological health. So what does it mean to be healthy for a person? Because of course this encompasses all the existential aspects of life. And so, for example, if today I want to lay on the bed all day because I feel to do that, that should be right, and I should have the right to do that, of course, because otherwise we will return to, I would say, a nevrotic era, nevrotic age, where you have to comply with the standard and comply with the benchmark. In this sense, I am concerned. And the second aspect is that retrieving your example of what happens after a person dies. For example, it may invite change of people like process and elaborate the mourning, so the loss. So of course we should study that process and how this will change, because of course when you have, for example, the possibility to talk with the person who has died, talk with an AI, of course, this might hinder the elaboration of the mourning. So this one aspect of the change that AI will bring to our society. And of course, I agree with you. It's happening. So we don't have to. Okay, let's say no. It's bad. We don't have to do that. It's just that we have to study how will this change our society and our idea of privacy, of health, of communication, and that's all.
Yes, Arianna, I would agree with all what you said, but one thing that I think that the study that we do puts us in a completely new level of knowledge. And I'm afraid that, and I must say that I don't know exactly which this new kind of knowledge will lead us. This is what I strongly perceive. I don't know whether I'm right, but that is my intuition, my perception. And in this sense, I think we are entering in a new ethics and in a new world. And that is the idea for which I mean, this model comes to me from my reflections on bioethics, which now I think that is my new interest in artificial intelligence, because I think that artificial intelligence gives a new level of analysis. And I'm afraid when I read papers and books in artificial intelligence, thinking that artificial intelligence is simply, a normal step of increase in life. No, it is a break. That is, and we need a new ethics, and we need to reframe our basic categories. And studying about mourning, but think, just to talk about, of course, my name is Mori, so I'm joking on myself, memento mori, say, remember of myself, but of course, think that up to 3 centuries ago, kids until 5 have not been registered because death was so frequent that they even registered. Now, when each of you will live 150 years, of course this will change completely the amount of because mourning someone living 150 years is different. My view, for instance, is that secularization depends on the span of life. David Hume told that religion will last because people have horror mortis, the horror of death. Now, sometimes I think that all the people at the opposite, they have a so-called tedium vitae. So they are fed up of living. Some of them, I don't say everyone, but I often, when it occurred to me to visit people around 95, 98, and all they say, when I leave this world. And I said, it might be that they are, they really think that they are fed up of staying alive. I don't know. I think sometimes something like that. Okay, in any case, Maria Camilla appears to be talking. Please.
Thank you. I would like to say a couple of things on the topic of it happening, and also about power.
Sorry, of the topic of
it's happening,
and
also about the capabilities of artificial intelligence. It's true that it's happening, but pollution also is happening, and we try to ban plastic to address what we view as a problem. We don't try to ease ourselves or prepare to live in a polluted world. And so the fact that it's happening, for me, means that we need to reflect very urgently because it's happening, but not that we need to embrace very quickly.
Camilla, Maria Camilla.
And the second thing.
Sorry, I didn't hear because there the line was trembling. Can you repeat?
Sure.
Did you understand?
I was saying that the fact. Yes, I can hear you.
No, because
I was saying that.
Good.
I was saying that the fact that it's happening means that it's urgent for us to reflect on it, not that it's necessary to embrace what's happening. The same way that we do not embrace the pollution that is happening and prepare to live in a polluted world, we take action to change the course. We first have to determine if what is happening is good or not. And here, of course, we have to figure out what kind of ethics or thinking to employ in doing this. And this is where my background as a computer scientist helps me. Because I understand that most people do not understand the limitations of this technology. This technology has enormous speed. It has enormous reach, but it does not have enormous sophistication. Most people overestimate by a lot the degree of depth of our understanding. There's a reason for this. We don't have the mathematics. It's not the computer science that's lacking, it's the mathematics. To model systems that are very complex, have very many parts, have very many feedback loops, we don't know how to do that, not yet. And so right now we have the technical capabilities to do very many things, and that we don't have the wisdom to anticipate the consequences. So I think this is a good time to be careful and to wait until we have the capability of anticipating the consequences. Thank you for letting me speak like that.
if any others, otherwise I try to give my comment. My
I would
comment,
like to speak.
please.
I'm Vincenzo Tamaro. Yes, my camera does not work. So hello everyone. First of all, I'm Vincenzo Tamaro, computer scientist, and I would like to add some other information to what Maria Camila was saying. And the comment is, yes, the system are artificial intelligence system are very complex right now, but as computer scientists, we are trying to provide tools for explainable artificial intelligence to understand what are the reasoning that the machine did to reach some results. So we try to provide insights about the learning process in order to the human beings to understand what is the learning, what has the machine learned from the data. And I think that this is an important step in allowing everyone is a strong word, because naturally the person needs to have some background in order to understand what the machine is explaining. But it's the first step towards reaching some, where the machines try to give information about something that has learned from the data to a human being without saying just the result. So that's the new direction of research that personally I'm following. And also, we are following in order to be more, I would like, I can't say safe, but I would like more healthy with an healthy approach to the technology.
Okay, thank you for this contribution,
You're welcome.
which, if I understand well, in a sense, it is diverging with Maria Camila, because Maria Camila stressed the limitation of this technology because we don't know exactly the models of the mathematics, and Vincenzo, if I understand, said that we try to do something in order to make it.
Yeah, the truth is that we are at the beginning. So Camille is right, and me too. That's it.
Okay, because you say Camila is right because she puts it in this time. You are right because you think that in the future things will change because explicability will increase. Okay. My comment with Camila is that on the logic of it is happening. I think the examples of pollution is not correct. I mean, it's not the right analogy, or at least with pollution, we now realize that it is happening, and we think and we take measure against it in order to restore a green world. That is true, but it took, let's say, half a century before we reached such an idea. And we are forced to do it. But in the case of artificial intelligence or technology, this is something which is enlarging our opportunities. And I think that this enlargement is positive. And so it is happening because people use it, like the watch, the clock I mentioned before, or like the computer, or like the telephone. And all of us are using, and it is happening because it is something that increases our welfare. So that is the reason for which I am skeptical with the directions of the European Union or with the ideas of those saying it is happening, it doesn't work because we can control that. That is the idea. That's it. Anyway, any other comment? So in any case, I tried to put forward an idea concerning the future of artificial intelligence and the regulation of artificial intelligence. I know that it is an idea which is not in line with most of the idea which are on the market, but I try to do my best. That's it. No other comment? If no other comment is coming, I don't know, Guido, what shall we do? Because I don't have prepared anything more to say. I thought that the idea of discussing the Green Pass as the beginning of a new era for the ethics of artificial intelligence could be enough for discussing, but if it is not like that, we can try to have a further analysis, maybe Guido first and then Giovanni. They have more specific topics concerning applications both in technology and in technology and in the law, the regulations.
Okay, thanks. Since there are no other questions. The next week I will talk more on some technical issues, since I am a computer scientist. But since the Italian Society for Ethics of Artificial Intelligence is by design interdisciplinary, we decided to start first with these 2 lessons on ethics from a philosopher, and then to conclude the cycle with the lawyer, Professor Sartor. I will talk of some technical issues like bias and explainability, but each of these topics would require an entire course to be addressed. But I will also address another point of view, the impact of AI in the society, the analogy with other phenomena that emerged in the past. And I will conclude with another perspective, and that explains also why the course is called Ethics and AI and not Ethics of AI or Ethics for AI, because I will also argue that AI will have an impact on ethics itself. And since we are relying more and more on this technology to understand, to operate in the world, to take decisions. So with respect to other technologies that required changes in ethics, here I will argue we are in front on something new. So just a little anticipation of my Monday's talk. Did any other question pop up in the meanwhile? No?
No. Anyway, it's 1.5 hours of connections, and so.
Yes. So
Maybe Maria Camila wants to say something more. She showed up.
If there's time, I mean, I'm fascinated with this topic, of course.
Good. Anyway, thank you very much for your contribution. I appreciate it. That's the logic of it is happening. It is true that it is happening, that there is a mafia and we should fight it. The point is that this is my intuition, but it might be different as artificial intelligence is a progress.
I agree. I think I would like to propose another angle if there's time to discuss, maybe. I don't know. And I think that I completely agree with you, by the way, that we are on the verge of an authentic revolution, a paradigm shift. Because not just artificial intelligence, but machines in general, whether we're talking about their brains, artificial intelligence and software, or their bodies, robotics. I think what's happening is that we are at the verge of what revolution because of agency. We almost got to the point of being able to build, and soon we will, because some brains are already superhuman in some ways. We are on the verge of building an agent that we can interact with horizontally. They're not humans. We built them. We know how we built them, and we know how they think, but we can't follow them because they're too fast. So although in theory, completely deterministic, everything is kind of predictable, we can anticipate. In practice, when we put a super fast brain on an embodiment and have a robot, or even in logical spaces like games, in practice, we are interacting with another agent. And it's another type of agent. And we're not used to this, because animals can't function at our level of abstraction. Aliens, officially, we haven't met. Who knows if they're there? But machines we have met. And for me, another type of revolution, which isn't a social revolution, is at the individual level. That we will need to learn how to relate to machines. And I think that's a really interesting question, because in some ways they're stupid, and in some ways they best us.
They
best us. They beat us. And I wanted to offer one possible idea of the type of ethical issues that are involved with this. For example, in medical robotics, where I work, we can easily imagine soon in the future having enough data and enough computational power for machine diagnosis to differ from human diagnosis. And at that point, the question is, okay, we both have access to this picture, the imaging, and the doctor says, I see a tumor right here, and the machine says, yes, there's a tumor right there, but it's not just here, it's much bigger. And the question is, how much do you cut? Because you can find out who's right, but you can find out after you've removed the tissue, when you biopsy it, not before. And I think we'll have very, very many of these kinds of problems soon.
Okay, thank you for this passionate defense. I think I do agree with all this stuff. Possibly the very end of the story is whether you think or we think that there is free will. And what does it mean to have free will in agency? Since I am a determinist, maybe we have different views on the issues, but this depends on a deep philosophical attitude, which puts us in two different models. Maybe, I don't know, we should discuss longer about these other issues. But my view is that I cannot think of myself of being the beginner of a contra-causal, as it's called, contra-causal idea, contra-causal chain of events. And in this sense, I think I'm a more complex animal than maybe a simpler computer. I don't know exactly. But this is the general metaphysical view that gives us possibly on agency, as you said. That's it. But I do agree all the rest about the social implication and the social revolution. And thank you for having mentioned it. Okay.
Okay. Just to remind you that the recordings of the first lesson are already on the website, www.SIpEIA.it, and as soon as they're ready, I will put also these the recordings of this lesson. So thanks to Maurizio, thanks to everyone.
Thank you to you, everyone. I'll see you maybe on the 7th on Monday for the other lecture, and otherwise the third lecture by Guido. And thank you again. And we'll try to keep in touch all together in order to start and continue having an exchange among us. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.